future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Going behind the scenes with Hollywood's power players. Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba. Starts now.
Hi there. Huh? Welcome to Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba.
Oh, I'm Reba in case you can't tell.
Well, but you would know that if you've tuned in. So today we are here with another exciting show.
You think so?
Yeah, who are we going to talk to?
I'm not telling you. I love
How do you expect me to perform if I don't know who's going to be on the show?
Well, it's like this. I like control.
We know that.
So
guess what? As you get older, it changes.
Well, I qualify because I'm the oldest one in the room. So this is my
But you also can get away with more. You can say most anything you want.
I'll try to be well behaved.
Yeah, if I say that, then it's called sexual harassment.
Well, if I said that, it would be called sexual harassment too. It's equal opportunity now.
No, you can get away with it. It's cute when you're older. It's cute.
But I thought maybe we would talk about Hollywood. And
okay.
I wanted to talk about Hollywood and how easy it is to lie.
No, it's not lie. It's fake it till you make it. Lie is such a negative term.
Did you ever do that?
No, I just had confidence to say that I could do things that I didn't know if I could yet.
Okay, I did that too. I did that really early in my career. I was going to school at Sacramento State. By then I was married and I lived in every city that my husband worked in, and because he was in computers, we moved every year to 18 months. So I was always going to a different school. And in one of my classes was this really wonderful woman, and she comes up to me and she says, I'm the star of the JCPenney commercials, and I need a next-door neighbor. And I got this job in television where I had to sit there and look at her sweaters, but they paid me.
Wow.
And so when she left, did
they pay to like them?
I didn't say it. I was silent. I just smiled. And then when she left, they gave me the job. And after I started doing the job for a while, they came up to me and they said, we need a fashion coordinator. Can you do that? And I said, yes.
Okay.
I'd never been a fashion coordinator.
See, that's the thing is you have to kind of be in advance. Like one of my first projects as a producer, I wanted to talk to Wells Fargo Bank about sponsoring.
Money? Is that called money?
It is about money. It's about getting money. And so at the time, I was in San Francisco, and the Wells Fargo headquarters was there. So my grandfather, who was a bank director in northern Michigan, always gave me like the little shirts that anybody can buy. So he said, put on your Wells Fargo shirt, go down there and tell them that your grandfather's a bank director. So I walk into the giant building. I go up to the security guard because clearly I don't know. And he's like, oh, 15th floor. So okay. So I get out on the elevator. I get up there, and of course you get off, and it's like all the doors are locked. And so I'm standing there. I'm not really sure what to do. And someone comes out, they're like, oh, who are you looking for? And I tell them the name of the lady who I'm trying to go meet with. He's like, oh, here, come with me. And they walk me right on in. And they take me up to her, and I sit down at her desk, and I lay down my proposal, and I talk to her, and it seemed like a good meeting. A couple weeks later, I follow up, and they all seemed really angry at me, and I didn't know why. And she said, look, you walked through 2 secure gates of a highly sensitive building. This was right after, like, computers had been stolen and thousands of people's information had been leaked. And she said, we really feel you defrauded us. I said, I never told you I worked for Wells Fargo. I explained the whole situation. I'm sorry you all mistook it, but I was just very honest when I did. And so that was like my first sign that if you act like you belong, nobody else is going to ever question you.
That's why I learned to lie in Hollywood. I celebrated my 40th birthday twice.
That's all?
Yeah, I didn't need it anymore. I just needed to buy 10 years. If I bought a decade, I could work for as long as I wanted to work, I figured. And I worked till I was 71. And nobody knew until I came out at 70. I came out at 75. And I announced to the world I was 75.
Oh, were people shocked?
Yes, because the way I announced it, I did it this way. I said, well, for decades, French women always added years to their age. So come and celebrate Reba's 75th birthday. And so they figured I was adding years to my age. So you would say, oh, gee, you look good.
Well, speaking of conundrums.
Yes.
Because they're a great sponsor of ours.
Yes.
But we have a special person today who had a real conundrum.
Yes, our guest today, our first guest and the one that makes I'm not going to say my heartbeat because you're going to think I do that for all the good-looking guys that come. Our guest today is award-winning writer-director, I like saying those words, Daniel Adams. And now we're going to run just a brief moment from a very interesting film called The Lightkeepers.
Because out here, love always finds a way. The Lightkeepers. Academy Award winner Richard Dreyfuss. Tony and Emmy winner and Golden Globe nominee Blythe Danner. Tom Wisdom. Mamie Gummer. And Academy Award nominee Bruce Dern.
Well, if you can write and if you can direct and then get it produced and distribute it, oh my, they worship you. I mean, that's really what, you couldn't do any of those things. Well, you were a producer. Okay.
And
well,
I wrote and directed.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, but here...
Still getting to know me.
Here is a writer, director of The Lightkeepers and The Golden Boys and a lot more, but let's not label Daniel Adams. Welcome.
Thank you, Reba and Ben. It's
I'm
really
going to
great
give
be
you
here.
my favorite director question. I have done this to every director I get to sit with.
Oh, no.
How'd you know you wanted to direct? And the reason I say that, writers start writing very early. Actors know as soon as they're in school they're going to act. Please tell me, how does a director know he's going to direct?
Oh, gosh. I guess it's because I came from a background where, especially my sister was a big influence. She was a painter. And I was always interested in film. And I kind of wanted to be the painter, not the paintbrush. So I wanted to, control everything. I guess maybe it's some sort of weird thing where I feel like I have something to say and I wanted to express it, and film was my favorite medium. So, and the other thing too was when I was about 4 years old or so, I had the first movie I ever went to was Mary Poppins, actually, and I went into the theater with my big sister, and I kind of freaked out a little bit because it was the first time ever alone without my parents, and I ran out of the theater and my parents were waiting outside for me, and then after that I think I was determined to conquer this whole fear of film or something. So
well, you did it, and you did it well. But
yeah.
Did you start writing early? Were you like an early writer?
Yeah, well, I was always writing, but I was really, really fortunate. My first movie years ago was had a great deal of help from Norman Mailer, the writer, and Norman's son Michael and I teamed up for that first movie, and we cast an unknown actress, in that film. Who happened to have been our waitress at a restaurant and turned out to be Sandra Bullock. So
my question was going to be, how did you find her, and how did you know what she could deliver?
Well, she was the waitress. That's how we found her.
Yeah, she delivered food to our table. But
Thank you for interpreting.
I listened.
No, she was. We gave her an audition because thought she was right for the role, and she just kept. She was so good. And by the way, such one of the nicest people I've ever met in the film business.
Now, was she wanting to be an actress and training at that point?
Oh no, yeah, she was an actress, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
She just wasn't working.
And she had done a few things.
So was she a good waitress, or was she just awful at it?
No,
she was
great. She was great at that too.
Well, I want to say something because I interviewed her. What I thought was early was When the Party's Over, but I looked it up and you were before me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Wow.
But I've interviewed her since then, since she became famous.
Sure.
When the Party's Over.
Yeah, and isn't she the nicest person?
And funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we know he writes. We know he directs.
And he gets real stars.
Yeah. Maybe
these are not just small indie films with unknown actors. They're indie films with big actors.
No, he actually did a film for 20th Century Fox. That's not an indie film. That wasn't an indie film.
No, that was a studio film. Primary Motive you're talking about. Yeah.
I would dare say that a lot of what we do that's indie today used to be what the studios put out.
Yeah, it was. So that was sort of a half indie, half studio, because we broke up the rights. The domestic rights were Fox, but then the foreign rights were sort of indie.
How do you see the film industry changing? I mean, we sit here and talk because he's from the indie world and I'm from the studio world, and all I see, for the most part, coming out of the studios are comic book tentpole films, and I want stories.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that because our next guest was in Jurassic World, but I really don't need another T-Rex.
But Jurassic World's at least a good title, like Ant-Man. That doesn't scream superhero to me.
That's because he's just big.
Well, I know, we'll see. I don't know if that one's going to track so well.
I'm grateful for those comic book films because they fund the rest of the industry. And but there's sort of been a new paradigm recently in the last 10 years with indie films, where you can actually rent the studio system through a service deal and providing your own P&A and stuff like that, and that's almost become more important than the funding of the production money in a lot of ways.
Did you do that with the film that went out through Trimark?
Years ago. You mean which one? Because Trimark then became Lionsgate. Yeah, and I've done the movie for Lionsgate, and I did a movie for Trimark years ago.
I did too.
Oh, yeah.
And a few others.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this, because you walked into the studio and you said, you can ask me anything. So I have to ask you the question,
the elephant in the room.
I was going to say the elephant in the room. You made a film.
Not anymore. You lost 110 pounds.
Oh, well,
that was part
I wasn't referring to me, by the way.
You lost the elephant.
But you made a film in Massachusetts called The Lightkeepers, and it had, as the clip showed, Richard Dreyfuss and Blythe Danner. Actually, it had Meryl Streep's daughter.
Right.
Yeah, Mamie, who's wonderful actress.
So why don't you tell us the story
and
of
Bruce Dern, by the way,
of what happened to you, in your words, not mine.
In my words, because what you read, in all the articles and the internet and stuff, as I said, maybe about 40% of it is true. But I got involved making this film, and the guy, some of the producers came to me and said, it's really not worth our while with these tax credits unless there's more money involved, and we'll do it if you are willing to enhance the value of the film with tax credits, meaning inflate our costs. And for the record, I didn't make any extra money with basically the crime that was committed. That I was involved in the conspiracy, and I admit it, and I paid the price for it. But
and you actually spent time in jail as a result.
Wait a minute, I want him to tell the story of the district attorney, because I thought that was a movie scene.
Okay.
Well,
foreshadowing.
I didn't plan the crime. I didn't. I didn't profit from it. I made the same amount of money I would have made had the crime not been committed. But the guys that actually made the money on it, the extra money, they got immunity, and I didn't. And it's my theory, but I think the Attorney General of Massachusetts was running for governor at the time, and this was the biggest story of the year for her. And so I guess I'll let the audience put two and two together. But
they called you and asked you if you would come in, and you came in voluntarily.
Well, no, they didn't even call. I heard that they were curious about something, so I went in. I called a lawyer. I went in voluntarily, and I said, "Look, I just want to confess, and let's cut a deal here." And let's see, 16 months later, I was finally indicted, and I was the only one. I was naive. I thought, okay, if I admit to it, and then everybody else who was involved with it will admit to it, and then we'll all just we'll work something out here, and they'll have to, credit me for my honesty or whatever. Life doesn't work that way. But in any case, they.
So have you rethought that when you tell like crime scene movies, like how they should actually be written and told?
Well, that's another subject. But do I regret going in and being honest? No. I regret the time I had to spend away from my family.
Did they stick by you?
Yeah, they stuck by me. But the thing is,
Did Meryl Streep stand by you?
I
I read in one of the articles that she was not happy.
She's not happy, but she got over it.
Okay.
She got over it. She just was concerned for her daughter, and rightly so. I mean, because her daughter was involved. She didn't know if it would have affected her or not. It didn't.
But the film was gorgeous. I mean, the film was wonderful,
thank you.
and it was an
Thank you.
award-winning film.
Yeah.
Tell me this. Describe what life is like. And I'm not saying you're a softie, but let's face it, you're not a hardened criminal. You're a white-collar guy. What kind of prisons did they put you in? And what is life like? And what were you like? Let's start there. What were you like when you did your first stint in prison? Not that you did more than one. I'm sorry.
Was it like the Shawshank Redemption?
No. Well, there were a few months where it was, but it was, first going in, I was 110 pounds heavier. I was in bad health. And I decided if they're going to take a couple years away from my life, I'm going to put it back on the other end. So I decided to get healthy and read all about, physiology and spirituality and all kinds of things. I changed my life. And in a way, that's the positive that came out of it. I'm a much better person.
But describe what it's like. The first prison was quite hard.
Well, the first one was I was in with murderers and rapists and bank robbers and all kinds of things.
And did they pick on you because you were Hollywood?
Initially, it was a huge news story, so everyone knew who I was coming in. They had all seen me on the TV or whatever, and so some people resented that, and other people, had a script they wanted me to, to consider,
Even in prison.
So I took a lot of meetings in prison, but in any case, and it's interesting because there were some mob guys who all had stories, and they kind of took me under their wing and protected me. They said, you're sitting at our table, so and such, and we're going to let everybody know that, they can't touch you and whatever. And that it's interesting because I went from one facility to another facility. And when I went to the next facility, some random guy would come up to me and go, hey, I hear you're with so-and-so and, you're sitting at our table.
You switched prisons,
Yeah.
the word got out.
The word got out. I don't know how but so I didn't really have to deal with a lot of that stuff, but I did have to hear a lot of, potential, film plots,
And were you physically hurt? And if you were, did you keep your mouth shut? Because I don't think they like squealers.
Yeah, there was one. There was one violent episode but the and in county at the beginning, I witnessed a guy getting beaten to death, and the guards just standing there and watching and laughing, and there was some horrible stuff. But but generally speaking, no, I was with those guys, and so I didn't really I didn't really experience a lot of the stuff. But in that one episode, yeah, you kept kept your mouth shut, because if you the worst thing you can be in that situation is a rat, and so because then even the guys that are protecting you will turn on you. So.
And maybe this is the wrong thing to ask you, but I'm wondering if you learned from your mistake. And it sounds stupid to ask you because you're telling me that it was important to be honest. And I'm not asking you, should you have lied, but what did you learn from it?
I think the mistake may have happened before that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I considered myself an honest person prior and an honest person after. I think what I learned is that all of the sort of the spiritual path and stuff that I sort of gave lip service to prior, I think I had to actually walk the walk afterward. Because it's one thing to say, you're a good person. It's another thing to actually, when you're actually, confronted with a situation where you have a choice of compromising or not compromising. You have to make the right choice, and I made the wrong choice when, I could have had I could have waited and had the movie made a different way, but I didn't, and that was the wrong choice.
So just like now, moving forward, not to jump too far ahead, but you're out back trying to make new movies. You're raising money. How's that process going? Where you have a criminal record, and clearly from all the interviews and articles, it's not like it's not there for anybody to see with a simple Google search.
Yeah. Oh no, it's out there. But I have. Well, in Hollywood, it's not so much of a stigma as it would be if I were a banker or something. I mean, a lot of people want to take meetings with me, and they're like, "Oh, what was it work like inside?" Man, that's cool.
But taking meetings versus giving you $12 million.
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate. I actually have a great situation now with a film fund that I'm involved in. I have a great partner, a guy named Mike Flanders out of he's a music and record producer out of Nashville, and he's put together a film fund. We're going to do a series of movies over the next 5-6 years. In the $10 to $15 million budget range. I'm gonna direct 4 of them, and the rest we're trying to find content for.
Okay, so you're getting the money.
Yeah.
How are stars going to treat you? Let's go back. Would Richard Dreyfuss be in another one of your films?
Well, first of all, Richard and his wife Svetlana are one of my closest friends. They stood by me the entire time. He's one of the most wonderful people and one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. He's, I think, one of the great actors around. And he's. I'm sure I'll work again with Richard. Same thing with Blythe. Wonderful. Bruce Dern, wonderful guy. Absolutely amazing. And I don't see. The problem right now, we're casting this next movie called An L.A. Minute. Sheila Jaffe and Gail Goldberg are casting directors, and I've worked with Sheila for 25 years, I don't see a problem.
Well, we lightly talked in the beginning is that when you went into prison, you were heavy and you were unhealthy, and I look at this really great-looking guy with energy, so there was just one thing missing. Did you do writing when you were there? We talked about everything else. I
did. In fact, I had a script that that was Curtain of Fire that I'll end up doing at some point. This film in L.A. Minute, I actually wrote 20 years ago. I co-wrote with Larry Ratso Sloman, who a lot of your audience will probably know because he ghost-wrote the Howard Stern books. He's on Howard Stern all the time. He wrote some classics, On the Road with Bob Dylan, Reefer Madness. He wrote Scar Tissue, so on and so forth. And so we wrote that 20 years ago, and it was so out there and on the edge that we couldn't get it made. But now times have changed, and this sort of outrageous comedy is actually pretty mild.
And it has a prison scene, and I wonder if you rewrote that.
Oh, well, actually, you're thinking of Curtain of Fire, and that does have a prison scene. L.A. Minute doesn't, but that's not, it's not a bad idea.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Can I steal that?
Yeah, when it comes out, we're going to have you back. But at this point, we're going to go to a commercial in just a moment,
Great.
and then we're going to have you back later in the show. But Daniel, thank you. And also, I'd like to give a little shout out to our sponsors, Conundrum Red and Conundrum White.
And we'd like to drink to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And
I'd
for
like
sharing your story.
And to you guys, too. You guys are wonderful.
Conundrum has been turning winemaking on its head for 25 years. Conundrum White is the original white wine blend from California. Pair this exotic, versatile wine with everything from Asian cuisine to tacos. Conundrum Red is rich, full-flavored, and balanced, the perfect complement to dishes like pasta pomodoro, fajitas, and barbecue. Drink it slightly chilled, perfect for summer. You'll find Conundrum red and white wines at your favorite restaurants, wine shops, or supermarket. Go to WagnerFamilyOfWine.com. Again, that's WagnerFamilyOfWine.com. Find your wine, find your adventure.
Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches is Reba Merrill's intriguing look at hidden Hollywood. Find out what movie stars are really like in this behind-the-scenes Hollywood tell-all. The story of Reba's extraordinary life interwoven with an insider's look at achieving fame and success in the entertainment industry. A must-read. Buy Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches at RebaMerrill.com, Amazon.com, or ask for it at fine bookstores. Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches. You'll love it.
Barkeeper in Silver Lake has the finest cocktail shakers and vintage glassware and barware from the mid-century to new. And let's not forget about Barkeeper's unique spirits, 150 different kinds of bitters, and their unique gifts. In fact, Barkeeper provided a lot of the vintage barware for Mad Men. BarkeeperSilverLake.com. Don't wait to visit their store or their website at BarkeeperSilverLake.com. It's your very own Barkeeper catalog for unique gifts.
Behind the scenes with Hollywood's power players. Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba. Starts now.
All right, welcome back to Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba.
I'm Reba, just in case you didn't know. I can't help it.
All right, well, we're very lucky. We've got a great second guest. Reba, do you want to introduce?
Well, before I introduce Courtney James Clark, oh God, it's definitely a debutante.
It just came out. You just did it.
Well, but the thing is that we're going to show a moment from her career before we introduce her to the world. Play that clip.
Excuse me, what?
You're an inventor, right?
Yeah.
Then you'll appreciate this. Only a man can create something so beautiful, so supportive. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, the dual cantilever straps and
Just feel the support.
You want me to feel the support?
What the hell are you doing? Bastard!
Whoa, hey, that might get us kicked out of the bar, and we're getting kicked out.
Well, you have seen her at her. No, I shouldn't say at your best. I'm sorry. I don't. Okay.
The best is yet to come.
Starting an acting career in Hollywood is not easy. You have to be ambitious. You can't be shy about being ambitious. You have to be determined. You have to go out for any role, no matter what size it is, and you have to learn. And if anybody has done that, it's our guest today. And I love saying your name, Courtney James Clark. And you can see her. Oh, thank you for the applause. You can see her in Jurassic World right now. And that was so. Tell me, how in the world did you audition? Because I love this story. How did you audition for Jurassic World?
Well, I didn't know that I was auditioning for it. I thought it was an indie, and I just, it was a different scene, but it kind of had the same energy of what I do in the film. So, yeah, I just did that. And
how did you do it?
What was that? How did they title the casting call that you thought it was an indie?
Ebb Tide. And so I did that and kind of just put it out of my mind. And I was working on another film and I got a call that we were just waiting on final studio approval for Jurassic World. And I was like, okay, I didn't audition for that. I think you called the wrong person. But surprise, I did.
And what was it like?
The working on the film, I feel like the only word I can really say is magical. I mean, as a kid, I remember seeing those films, and I remember seeing the first one in theaters and being like, this is like movie magic. This is so like, wow, they have dinosaurs and things are and these dinosaurs look so real. And so to get to be in a film that I loved as a child was very much like a pinch me moment. I mean, I still feel that way.
How tough is Hollywood? You can talk in front of Daniel. It's perfectly all right. I mean, here's a director who is casting right now. So tell him what you've gone through. Tell him about auditioning, because I don't know how people audition. I have to tell you, I would just die if I had to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it just kind of comes with experience. People can tell you things, but until you really experience them on your own, you're not really going to get it. And I feel like, especially being a woman in Hollywood, you need to be like strong and very, you know what you want, and very assertive, but not, rude or anything, but you're confident.
I'm just going to ask it. Oh God, you'll kill me. How far would you go?
Would I go?
To get a role?
Ugh, I wouldn't do anything sleazy just because.
But women before you have. I
right.
mean, we could name Marilyn Monroe. We could name a lot of women who wanted it so badly.
Right.
So the roles for Linda Lovelace.
Stop
it. No,
they've already done that film.
We're already talking
Amanda
about
Seyfried.
mainstream Hollywood. I mean, there is a casting couch, and
right.
Not in here. We've got lots of cameras and a bunch of chairs, some microphones.
No, the only reason I asked that is the first interview I ever had up here, and all I wanted to do was be an interviewer. It came attached to sex, and I nearly died. And it took me 8 years to get a job at that studio.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not a young actress. I mean, I just don't know what you're confronted with and what you have to face and what happens when.
I mean, I've definitely had moments where I have been told I'm having a business meeting, and then it's like, so, I was thinking maybe we can start. And it's like, whoa. For one, this is not what you led me to believe, and I'm not okay with this, so I gots to go. I have no problem doing that.
Daniel, did you ever do any? I've already asked everybody else, but I mean, what we're talking about is common in Hollywood, or do you leave your casting to your casting director?
Well, I mean, ultimately, the casting director's job is to give me choices, and then I choose from the choices. But I think it's the casting couch is just sort of a cliche, but when you really come down to it, when you're making a movie, there are millions and millions of dollars at stake, and if you are, if you're trying to make a good movie, you're not going to risk it because you
right.
want sex or something. So, maybe for like tiny little, independent films, but I can't see it.
No, I always saw that. Like when you're at the film festivals, you would see the guys that would go up to girls and say, like,
the type.
I can make you famous.
Yeah,
but
the
need
type.
A friend.
But they're not real producers. They're not real directors. If you've got millions of dollars at stake, completion bond, your career on the line, everyone judges you by the last movie you've made. You're not going to screw it up because you have one. It doesn't make any sense. But I mean, that's my
no. That's
opinion,
the advice I've given every young actress or actor that I've met is anybody who puts you in that position isn't legit.
Right. Yeah. I've never had a casting director do that to me. No, I've never been.
So how tough is it in Hollywood today? I mean, we've got you sitting here.
Yeah.
How many auditions do you have to go through before you get one job? And does it bother you that no one calls you up and says, Courtney James Clark? Oh, I love saying your name.
My dad would love to hear you say yes.
You don't have to audition. I want you to do this role.
No, I haven't had that yet. I still pride myself on working very hard. And yeah, I mean, some days it's harder than others, but when you do get an opportunity, whether it's just auditioning for a new casting director you haven't been in for, or just a role that you're like, oh my God, this would be amazing to play. Those are the times that you're like, this is why I do it. This is exactly why I do it. And then the icing on the cake is getting the call of like, oh, you booked it. Then it's like, I get to actually go share that with everybody now. And so,
so do you have like an agent and a manager, or do you just have a manager? I don't know how you play the Hollywood game right now, so I don't know what a young actress needs to make it in Hollywood.
Right now, I just have a manager. I'm with Randy James Management, and I love them over there, and they're great. And yeah, that's what I have right now.
So they're out finding you, if not jobs, at least auditions.
Right, and it's up to me as well to, I feel like nowadays, especially in this town, it's all about building relationships. And so, you know, it's as much up to me to build those relationships if I meet someone and I have a connection with them, and kind of keep that door open. That helps them, because nowadays you get so many submissions that if somebody recognizes you and they're like, oh, I did have a conversation with them and we had a common bond about X, Y, or Z, you know.
Well, we got Daniel to reveal a story that was in the press, and not exactly this story was in the press, but we did read it on the internet, is that you had a terrific part in the film The Lonely One.
The Lucky One.
The Lucky One with, who was the guy?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Lest we not forget.
Marijuana again.
No, I didn't. And you also had a manager, a
different manager,
a Hollywood manager. And what happened? I mean, when I read this, I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me what happened.
So I was, told by my manager at the time, not my current manager, completely different. My manager at the time had said, yeah, we'll get you on the carpet for The Lucky One. It's not a huge cast. You had a substantial role. We'll get you on the carpet. And at the time, I was very like, oh, okay, I just trust everyone. I trust that everyone will do the right thing. And that was a lesson learned. And about, I guess, a week before the premiere, I was in his office and I said, so what's it? I haven't heard anything. I know the premiere is in a week. What are we doing about that? He's like, oh, I can't. It's not going to happen. And I was like, it's not going to happen? How? What? You can't get me one ticket? I'm not even asking for a +1. You can get me one ticket? No, it can't happen. So I said, okay. I went home and I called Warner Brothers. I emailed Warner Brothers, and then I also called CAA because they repped a lot of the people, and I got a ticket. And that was that. And then
you were on the carpet.
I was. Yeah.
And what did it feel like? Because
it felt so great because I worked my butt off. Like, I had a week to make this happen, and, I would just call, and then I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to call Brian Lord over at CAA because I know he grew up in Louisiana, where I'm from, and maybe we can have this connection. And I did, and yeah.
Daniel, does that surprise you about how young actresses are treated in Hollywood? I mean, my God, she had a substantial role in a film and isn't invited to do the red carpet?
Yeah, well, that doesn't make any sense, actually. I mean, if it were my film, I make sure the entire cast is there.
I definitely think it was my manager at the time that completely dropped the ball because it was easy for me. And then he calls me.
You didn't drop that word, determine, that I said in the beginning. And you sat there with this look on your face. You understood exactly what I was saying to you.
So, Courtney, do you have a dream role that you still have yet to play?
Okay. Dream role. I would love to play something that is completely opposite of who I am. So somebody that's like down and out, maybe like gritty drug addict or something that's really going to challenge me and really going to, I'm going to have to pour my heart and soul into this.
She's letting us know she doesn't do drugs. Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah, I don't do drugs.
That was a very subtle way to put it out there.
So I didn't even pick it up.
Oh, my goodness, you pick up everything.
Well, that's exciting. I'm just in my head. I'm thinking through. It's like, okay, so like girl with the dragon tattoo,
something like that.
You know, something that's pretty out there and opposite.
Right. And then I also love a good comedy. Like I love a smart comedy. I know y'all were talking about Sandra Bullock earlier, and I feel like she's such a smart woman, and her comedic choices are amazing. And then she's also got this dramatic side. And, you know, I feel like her career has been pretty awesome.
Now, I haven't seen Jurassic World yet, so I haven't seen your performance, but did you have to scream a lot?
I didn't. I got to train dinosaurs, so that was pretty cool.
Doesn't everybody? But I have to ask you the flip side, because I know I worked in Hollywood for a long time. How do you deal with rejection? Even I would get rejected, and I always ask this, especially if actors, because you get a more public rejection than I would get.
Right. You know, I feel like, one, having a well-rounded life with maybe friends that aren't in the industry at all. I love my animals. I have animals, so, you know, they always make me happy. And I feel like creating my own material sometimes. So it's like I'm still able to be creative, and I'm still able to like get that out if I didn't get some role, you know?
You do improv.
I do.
Oh my God.
Well, we're going to hear more of that when we come back, because we're going to have Danielle and Courtney talk together. But right now, before we go to break, I want to give one more shout out to Conundrum Red and White and Barkeeper Silver Lake, who provide the sponsorship for this great show that we're able to do.
So we'll be back after these messages.
Conundrum has been turning winemaking on its head for 25 years. Conundrum White is the original white wine blend from California. Pair this exotic, versatile wine with everything from Asian cuisine to tacos. Conundrum Red is rich, full-flavored, and balanced, the perfect complement to dishes like pasta pomodoro, fajitas, and barbecue. Drink it slightly chilled, perfect for summer. You'll find Conundrum Red and White wines at your favorite restaurants, wine shops, or supermarket. Go to WagnerFamilyOfWine.com. Again, that's WagnerFamilyOfWine.com. Find your wine, find your adventure.
Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches is Reba Merrill's intriguing look at hidden Hollywood. Find out what movie stars are really like in this behind-the-scenes Hollywood tell-all. The story of Reba's extraordinary life interwoven with an insider's look at achieving fame and success in the entertainment industry. A must-read. Buy Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches at RebaMerrill.com, Amazon.com, or ask for it at fine bookstores. Nearly Famous, Tales from the Hollywood Trenches. You'll love it.
Barkeeper in Silver Lake has the finest cocktail shakers and vintage glassware and barware from the mid-century to new. And let's not forget about Barkeeper's unique spirits, 150 different kinds of bitters, and their unique gifts. In fact, Barkeeper provided a lot of the vintage barware for Mad Men. BarkeeperSilverLake.com. Don't wait to visit their store or their website at BarkeeperSilverLake.com. It's your very own Barkeeper catalog for unique gifts.
Behind the scenes with Hollywood's power players. Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba. Starts now.
All right, well, welcome back. I want to remind everybody who saw last week, but even if you didn't, today's the very last day to register for an opportunity to win a free autographed copy of the Chronicles of Ara from Joel Eisenberg. So to do that, be sure to go to rebamerrill.com/Chronicles of Ara. Today, coming back, we're with Daniel Adams, who you can read more about on his website, danieladams.la, like Los Angeles. And you can also follow Courtney James Clark on Twitter at Courtney J. Clark or on Instagram at Court J. Clark. I'm sorry, Twitter is also Court J. Clark. Yeah. You can also follow her on Facebook Her website is CourtneyJamesClark.com. And let's get back to talking.
Are you surprised when you sit next to a young actress who, you know, is waiting for that one break? Now, Courtney's been lucky. She does a lot of national commercials, which pays the bills. Am I right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And then, when she's not working, she does improv.
Well, I couldn't do what Courtney does, you know. It's but you talked about rejection before, and it's something that you have to deal with every day as an actor or actress. And
how about a director?
Less so, because you know we're the ones sort of making the decisions. I mean, it's a struggle to get the film financed, but once that's done, it's a much easier job. But
has it changed?
Except on the Lightkeepers, because then the judge rejected it.
Has it changed? Has Hollywood changed about how films are made?
Yeah, and actually, it's a lot better for independent filmmakers these days because, when I started, indie films were much more difficult as far as the financing scheme is concerned. Now it's a lot easier if you know how to structure the distribution and everything. With these new service deals and companies like Roadside Attractions and Fox Searchlight and so on and so forth. The opportunities are better, and I think the content is better. But I don't know how. You've done a few indie films.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, I mean.
Do you get paid?
Yeah. I've been paid.
Money aside, from a working experience and creative experience, do you have a preference of which you enjoy more?
Oh gosh.
Big budget studio film or a small indie?
I feel like they're very different. I mean, the cool thing about an indie is not as much, overhead, like telling you we got to wrap this up. You're able to be more creative. You're able to have like a little bit more of like, taking your time to find stuff. And usually that's where like some pretty cool roles can come out of. But big studio films are fun too. I mean, they're a blast.
Great craft services.
Yeah, I'm always the first there. I'll tell you that.
I'm going to take advantage of the situation, and I'm going to put Courtney James Clark. I just like saying your name on the spot. You have a chance to sit there next to a very well-known writer-director. You can ask him a question, anything that will make him remember you, because remember, you're determined.
Okay. All right. Anything I can ask him. All right.
Oh, and clean.
Okay. I'll keep it clean. I've been working on that. Gosh, I don't know.
Okay, then I'll switch it. You want to ask a young actress a question?
Well, actually, I'm curious because my son is doing stand-up and improv too.
Oh.
So yeah, and my son Jake, and so I'm just curious how you're finding that.
I absolutely love it. I mean, for the longest time, I was scared of it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do it. I'm so scared of it." And so many people were like, "Just try it." Finally, I'm just also a person that I feel like I always want to do something in my career that scares me a little bit, that's going to take me out of my comfort zone. So I dived into it. I absolutely love it now. And I feel like just in general in life, it's just given me more confidence.
So I'll put you on the spot. Do you think you could help the director's son at least get a look at where you're doing your improv? Because you do it every month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She's
sure.
A working improv
he wants to come to a show. We'll have some fun.
See, this is how Hollywood works. It's who you meet, when you meet them, and what can you do for me, and where's there a payoff? Because a lot of times there is a payoff. Did you ever get a payoff?
I've helped a lot of people.
Did they remember?
Very few remember to thank me or pay it back.
No. See, that's... My mama raised me to write thank you cards and send gifts. So
luckily, I got to where I was because enough people did help me.
Me too. I have to say that. I don't know what kind of time we have, but before we leave, I want to thank you guys.
Do you have any bad jokes to tell?
No, I don't want to do that.
Come on, this is your stand-up.
Do you have any good ones?
This is like open mic night.
How soon, Daniel, do you think you'll be in production for LA Minute?
We're casting the two lead actors, or actor and actress now. And if we can get that done by the end of the summer, then we'll be prepping before the holidays, and we'll be shooting right after the first of the year.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot of work to make a film. It also takes a lot of people to make a film.
Also, I gotta say, with all the tax incentives across the country, what was the impetus to shoot here in L.A.?
Well, the movie takes place here in L.A. It's called an L.A.
That's never
Minute.
stopped anybody before.
But that's true. But despite that, and of course, I'm the last guy to talk about tax credits with. But
that's why I asked.
But actually, the production, which I'm not part of the financing part, but and I should say this to people that are involved in the tax credit program in California. It's really bad for indie films. It's all just to keep the studios here, but indie films, of the 350 million that's available for tax credits, only 6 or 7 is available for independent films, and we have to shoot an LA Minute based in LA about Los Angeles. We have to shoot most of I think 60% of the film out of the state. Because so we'll go to Utah probably because of that situation. So, but again, I have nothing to do with the tax credits.
Well, and we're going to have to bring you.
We're going to bring you both back. I'm sure you'll tell
us
your next job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to hear about what's. We want to keep up with your career. We want to keep in touch, but we're out of time for today. So I'd like to thank Conundrum Wine, which can be found anywhere that Wagner family of wines is sold. Barkeeper in Silver Lake, which makes the great stemware, which you could see on Mad Men. And you can see replays of this show on the UBN station, ubnradio.com, on youtube.com/Reba Merrill, on filmfestivalflix.com, as well as on iTunes. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week, where it's just going to be Reba.
It's going to be all about women. And actually, it's something that means a great deal to me. I'm not even going to tell you who's going to be on. I'm just going to say we're going to talk about power, and we're going to talk about how tough it is to be a woman after you get to be a certain age. I know, I lived it. So that's why I wanted to do the show. And he's not going to be here because he's going out on assignment. Oh, I love it.
You know what? And just as one last plug before we go, in a comedic way for women, is I saw an article where they asked why the Minions, which is the big hit film these days, why there's no female Minions. And the creator of it said that they're so stupid and they're always doing such stupid things he couldn't imagine any of them being women.
You see, that's why I want you to join us next week when we talk all about women. And this is Real Hollywood Live, and it's a wrap.
Real Hollywood Live with Ben and Reba.